She drank to forget her broken marriage. Waking up in a millionaire's bed changed her fate. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. And while you are here, tell me, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you so much. Now, let us return to the main character. She woke up to silence that felt too expensive to belong to her. The first thing she noticed was the ceiling. High, white, perfectly smooth. Not the cracked, water-stained ceiling of the small apartment she had slept under for the last 6 months. This ceiling belonged to a place that had never known shouting matches, slammed doors, or divorce papers spread across a kitchen table. Her head throbbed, a slow, punishing ache behind her eyes. She brought a hand to her temple and froze. The sheets were not hers. They were crisp, heavy, cool against her skin. The kind of sheets you only see in magazines or luxury hotels. The kind that whisper money without saying a word. She sat up too fast and the room spun. The bed was massive, easily king-size. Dark wood frame, floor-to-ceiling windows covered by soft gray curtains. A leather chair in the corner. A glass of water placed neatly on the nightstand, as if someone had thought ahead, planned for this exact moment. Her heart began to race. What happened last night? Flashes came back in fragments. A bar, dim lights, the burn of whiskey. Her wedding ring sitting on the counter in front of her, staring back like an accusation. The sound of her own voice breaking as she laughed too loudly, drank too much, tried too hard to forget the words her ex-husband had thrown at her. "You are replaceable. I am done pretending." She squeezed her eyes shut. She remembered leaving the bar, or at least she thought she did. Cold air on her face, a black car, a door opening, then nothing. Now she was here. She pulled the blanket closer to her chest and looked down. She was still dressed, though her clothes were wrinkled, her shoes gone. Her purse sat on the dresser across the room, placed carefully, not tossed aside. That should have made her feel better. It did not. Because places like this did not belong to women like her anymore. Once, she had been someone's wife, someone's partner, someone who believed in forever. Now she was a divorced woman with a broken marriage behind her, a future that felt like a blank page she was afraid to touch. She swung her legs off the bed, feet sinking into a thick rug that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The room smelled faintly of clean linen and something darker, masculine, controlled. Then she heard footsteps, her breath caught. The door opened, slow and deliberate. A man stepped inside, tall, calm, wearing a tailored shirt with the sleeves rolled back, as if this was his morning routine. His presence filled the room without effort, the way men who were used to being obeyed carried themselves. He stopped when he saw her standing there, pale, tense, clearly bracing for the worst. There was no panic in his eyes, no surprise, just measured focus. "You are awake," he said evenly. Her mouth went dry. "Where am I?" "My house," he replied. "You are safe." That word landed strangely. Safe. She wrapped her arms around herself. "Did we—" "No," he said immediately, cutting the question off before it could finish. Nothing happened. She searched his face for mockery or impatience, and found neither. "You drank too much," he continued. "You were not in a condition to make any decisions. I had my driver bring you here so you would not be alone." She let out a breath she did not realize she was holding, but confusion rushed in behind it. "Why?" she asked quietly. He studied her for a moment, as if weighing how much truth to offer a stranger who had stumbled into his life by accident. "Because you looked like someone who had already lost enough," he said. Silence stretched between them. Then he added, "There is something we need to discuss." And in that moment, standing barefoot in a millionaire's bedroom, she had no idea that the night she drank to forget her broken marriage was about to change her fate forever. She did not sit back down. She stayed where she was, standing at the edge of the bed, her fingers curled tightly into the blanket, as if letting go might make everything collapse. "I need to leave," she said. Her voice surprised her. It was steadier than she felt. The man did not argue. He nodded once, as if he had expected those words all along. "You can," he replied, "but before you do, you should know why you are here." She looked at him again, really looked this time. He was not dressed like a man who had just woken up. His shirt was crisp, his hair was neat. There was a control about him that made the room feel even more foreign, even more distant from the chaos of her life. "I do not owe you anything," she said quickly, a defensive edge slipping in. "I did not plan this. I did not come here for money or favors." "I know," he said calmly. "That is exactly why you are here." That stopped her. He gestured toward the chair by the window. "Sit, please. You are not in trouble, but running without understanding will not help either of us." She hesitated, then lowered herself into the chair, keeping her back straight, her posture guarded. She felt exposed, like a guest who had overstayed without meaning to. "My driver found you outside the bar," he began. "You were arguing with someone on the phone. You dropped it. You did not notice. When you tried to stand, you almost fell." Her stomach tightened. She remembered now, her ex-husband, his voice cold and dismissive, her pride cracking with every word. "You kept saying you were fine," he continued. "You were not." She looked down at her hands. "I should not have been there," she said quietly. "I should not have drunk that much." "People do not drink to celebrate endings," he replied. "They drink to survive them." The words hit closer than she expected. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she asked the question that had been circling her thoughts since she woke up. "Why your house?" she asked. "Why not a hotel or a hospital?" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Because I needed someone to trust me," he said, "and because you needed someone who would not take advantage of you." She laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You do not even know me." "I know enough," he replied. "You left your wedding ring on the bar counter before you ordered your second drink. You did not sell it. You did not throw it away. You placed it down carefully, like it still mattered." Her throat tightened. "That marriage ended 3 months ago," she said. "On paper, but not in my head." He nodded, as if that confirmed something. "You lost more than a husband," he said. "You lost stability, identity, safety." She did not correct him. "I was married for 12 years, she continued, the words spilling out now that they had started. "I supported his career. I moved cities for him. I believed him when he said we were a team. Then one day, I found out I was optional." She looked up at him, eyes sharp now, no longer afraid. "So if you were about to accuse me of anything," she said, "do it now." "I am not accusing you," he said. "I am offering clarity." He walked to the window and pulled the curtain back slightly. The city stretched below them, quiet, expensive, untouchable. "My life is complicated," he said. "Public, controlled. Every decision is watched, especially the ones involving marriage." She frowned. "What does that have to do with me?" He turned back to her. "Last night was not a mistake," he said. "It was an interruption." She stared at him, unsure she had heard correctly. "There is a situation I cannot solve alone," he continued, "and you are someone no one planned for. That makes you valuable." Her chest tightened, instinctively bracing. "I am not for sale," she said. He met her gaze evenly. "Neither am I." He reached into his pocket and placed something on the table between them. A business card. Heavy stock, minimal design. She did not pick it up yet. "This is not about last night," he said. "It is about what comes next, for both of us." And as she looked at the card, sitting between her broken past and an impossible present, she realized leaving might be the easiest choice. Staying might change everything. She finally picked up the card. The weight of it surprised her. Thick paper, clean edges, only a name, a title, and a company embossed in simple black letters. No slogans, no decoration. The kind of card that did not need to impress anyone because it already commanded attention. She read it once, then again. Her fingers tightened around it. "So this is who you are," she said quietly. "Yes," he replied, "and it is also why I cannot afford mistakes." She let out a slow breath and set the card back down on the table, careful, deliberate, the same way she had placed her wedding ring on the bar counter the night before. "You said you were offering clarity," she said. "So be clear." He did not hesitate. "I need a wife," he said. The words landed heavy in the room. She stared at him, waiting for the rest. A joke, a correction, something that would make it less absurd. None came. "A legal one," he continued, "public, convincing. Temporary. Her first reaction was laughter, not amusement, but disbelief. A short sound that broke off too quickly. "You have got to be kidding," she said. "You barely know my name." "I know enough," he replied calmly. "And I do not need romance. I need stability." She stood up again, the chair scraping softly against the floor. "You bring a woman home after she drinks too much, then tell her you need a wife?" she said. "Do you hear how that sounds?" "I am not asking because of last night," he said. "I am asking because of what happens next week." He moved to the table and opened a thin folder she had not noticed before. Inside were neatly arranged documents, typed, highlighted, prepared long before she had ever stepped into his life. "My board expects an announcement," he said. "My family expects certainty, and the markets respond to perception." She crossed her arms. "So this is business?" "Yes," he said, "entirely." That word should have made her feel safer. Instead, it made her chest tighten. "And why me?" she asked. "Why not someone from your world, someone polished, someone who knows how to play this game?" "Because they would be playing me," he said without hesitation, "and you would not." She shook her head. "You do not know that." "I do," he said. "Because you did not ask for anything when you woke up. You did not demand money. You did not threaten a story. You wanted to leave." She looked away. "I need someone who does not want this," he continued. "Someone who has already lost faith in marriage. Someone who will follow rules." She laughed again, bitter this time. "You picked the wrong woman if you think divorce makes people obedient." A faint smile touched his lips, then disappeared. "That is exactly why I picked you," he said. She walked toward the window, needing distance, needing air. Below them, the city moved like nothing had happened. Cars flowed, people hurried. Lives continued uninterrupted. "And what do I get out of this?" she asked without turning around. He did not answer immediately. "You get security," he said finally. "A home, financial independence, no more scrambling, no more starting over from nothing." Her throat tightened. "And when it ends?" she asked. "Because you said temporary." "There will be a contract," he replied. "Clear terms, a fixed timeline, an exit that protects you." She turned back to face him. "No love," she said. "None," he agreed. "No jealousy." "None." "No interference in each other's private lives." "Yes." "No children," she added sharply. He met her gaze. "Agreed." Silence filled the space between them, thick with everything unsaid. She looked at the folder again, at the clean lines, the order, the promise of control. After a broken marriage, control was tempting. "This is insane," she said softly. "Yes," he replied, "but it is also honest." She closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she asked the question that mattered most. "And if I say no?" He did not threaten her. He did not plead. "Then I will thank you for your time," he said, "and you will walk out of this house exactly as you planned." She nodded slowly. Walking away would mean returning to uncertainty, to rebuilding alone, to a life where every decision felt like survival. Staying would mean entering a contract that promised safety but demanded distance from her heart. She looked at him, then at the folder, then at her own trembling hands. For the first time since her marriage ended, she was not being chosen or discarded. She was being asked, and that changed everything. She did not answer right away. The silence stretched, not awkward but heavy, like a door that once closed could not be opened the same way again. Finally, she nodded. "Show me the contract," she said. He did not look relieved. He did not smile. He simply reached for the folder and slid it across the table, treating the moment with the same seriousness he had given every word so far. "This is not a trap," he said. "You will have time to read everything. Nothing is hidden." She pulled the folder closer and opened it. The pages were precise, clean, every line measured. This was not a document written in a rush or out of desperation. This was something prepared by people who planned for every outcome, every risk. She read slowly. Term of marriage, fixed duration. Public appearances required, specified in advance. Private boundaries, clearly defined. Financial compensation, outlined, generous, almost uncomfortable to look at. Confidentiality, absolute. She swallowed. "This is more detailed than my first marriage," she said quietly. That one was built on trust, he replied. This one is built on clarity. She looked up at him. And if one of us breaks the rules, there are consequences, he said, for both sides. She turned the page. No shared bedroom, she read aloud. Separate wings, separate lives. Yes, he said. No emotional obligation. Yes. No expectation of permanence. Yes. The word permanence lingered in the air. She closed the folder for a moment, pressing her palm flat against it, as if grounding herself. I need to ask you something, she said. Ask. If this is so clean, she continued, why does it feel dangerous? He did not answer immediately. Because pretending is easy, he said finally. Convincing others is harder. Convincing yourself is hardest. She nodded slowly. And your family? She asked. They will know this is fake. They will believe what I present to them, he said. They always do. She studied his face, searching for arrogance, for cruelty. She found neither. What she saw instead was someone who had learned to survive by controlling every variable, including people. She opened the folder again and reached the final page. Signature lines waited at the bottom, his name already printed, hers blank. I want one change, she said. He raised an eyebrow slightly. Go on. If this is a contract, she said, then my dignity is not negotiable. I will not be humiliated, not in public, not in private. You will not be, he said without hesitation. And if someone questions me, she added, you answer, not me. That is acceptable, he replied. She exhaled slowly. One more thing, she said. When this ends, I leave with my independence intact. No conditions, no favors owed. You will, he said. You have my word, and my signature. She looked at the pen resting beside the folder. Her marriage had ended with silence, with unanswered questions, with a door closing while she stood on the wrong side. This time, she knew exactly what she was stepping into. She picked up the pen. Her hand trembled slightly as she wrote her name, each letter deliberate, each stroke final. When she finished, she placed the pen down. He signed immediately, his movements confident, practiced. Then he closed the folder. It is done, he said. She sat back, her heart pounding, waiting for something to shift, to collapse, to feel different. Nothing did. You will move in today, he continued. Your things will be transferred. My legal team will handle the rest. She nodded. And what do I call you? She asked. In private, in public. In public, he said. My husband. She stiffened slightly. In private? She asked. He met her gaze, steady and unreadable. In private, he said. Call me by my name. For the first time since she woke up in his bed, the situation felt real. Not romantic, not safe, but real. And as she stood there, newly bound by ink and agreement, she understood one thing clearly. She had not fallen into this man's life by accident. She had stepped into it by choice. And choices, unlike mistakes, could not be undone. The transformation did not happen all at once. It began quietly. By the afternoon, a team arrived, polite, efficient, silent in the way people were silent around power. Topic. Boxes were labeled. Instructions were followed without questions. Her small apartment was packed with care that felt almost ironic, considering how carelessly her life had unraveled there. She stood in the doorway one last time, keys heavy in her palm. Nothing in that space belonged to her future anymore. When she returned to the house, it no longer felt like the place she had woken up in that morning. It felt like a stage being prepared. A woman introduced herself as his assistant and handed her a schedule. Meetings, appearances, dinners, all neatly spaced, all carefully controlled. You will have a stylist, the assistant said, a media consultant. Everything will be explained. She nodded, absorbing it all without comment. By evening, she stood in front of a mirror she did not recognize herself in. The dress was elegant, but restrained. No excess, no attempt to impress. Her hair was styled simply, her makeup clean and minimal. She looked composed, expensive, untouchable. She did not look like a woman who had cried over divorce papers 3 months ago. He appeared in the doorway, watching quietly. You look appropriate, he said. Appropriate, she repeated. That is comforting. It is safer, he replied. Their first appearance together was not a gala or a party. It was a private dinner with two board members and their spouses. Low risk, controlled environment. As they entered the restaurant, he placed a hand at the small of her back, light but deliberate. The gesture surprised her. She stiffened slightly. "For them," he said under his breath. "Not for us." She nodded and relaxed her shoulders. At the table, conversation flowed around markets and mergers. She listened more than she spoke, answering when addressed, never interrupting, never shrinking. When one of the women smiled at her and asked how they had met, she felt the familiar twist of panic. He answered smoothly. "At a time when we both needed clarity," he said. She met his gaze and smiled. It was not affection, it was alignment. Later, as they walked back to the car, she released a breath she had been holding all evening. "You handled that well," he said. "I survived," she replied. "That is different." Over the next days, the routine settled in. Mornings apart, separate wings, separate lives, public events together. Her arm looped through his, her smile measured, her words precise. She learned quickly. She learned when to speak and when silence carried more weight. She learned how to stand beside him without leaning, how to match his pace without chasing it. And slowly, without noticing at first, she began to see him differently. Not as the man who had made her an offer, but as the man who noticed when she skipped lunch and had food waiting without comment. The man who stepped in when a reporter pressed too hard, cutting the question short before she had to answer. The man who never touched her without warning, never crossed the lines they had drawn. One evening, after a long charity event, she removed her shoes and sat on the edge of the bed in her private room, exhausted. He knocked once before entering, stopping just inside the doorway. "You did not have to stay that late," he said. "They expected us," she replied. "They expected me," he corrected. "You fulfilled your role hours ago." She looked at him then, really looked. "You could have left me there," she said. "Yes," he admitted. "I chose not to." The silence between them felt different now. Not dangerous, not heavy, just present. "This does not mean anything," she said quickly, the words instinctive. "I know," he replied. But as he turned to leave, she realized something unsettled her more than the contract ever had. For the first time since her marriage ended, someone had protected her without asking for anything in return, and that was not part of the agreement. Not at all. The moment came quietly. No cameras, no audience, no expectations. It was late, well past midnight, and the house had settled into its usual stillness. The kind of silence that only existed in places designed to hold power, not noise. She stood on the balcony outside her room, wrapped in a thin robe, the city lights stretching endlessly below. From up here, everything looked distant, manageable, almost harmless. She heard footsteps behind her and did not turn. "I thought you would be asleep," she said. "I was working," he replied. "I saw the light." She nodded, gripping the railing a little tighter. "This is the part where I say everything is fine," she continued. "And you believe me because that is easier for both of us." He stepped closer but stopped at a careful distance. "You do not have to perform right now," he said. "There is no one watching." That was when the words slipped out. "I am tired," she said. "Not physically, emotionally. I'm tired of being careful, of choosing the right expression, of wondering if I am taking up too much space." He said nothing. "I spent 12 years shrinking myself," she continued. "I thought if I became easier to love, I would be loved longer." Her voice stayed calm, but her hands trembled. "When my marriage ended," she said, "everyone asked what went wrong. No one asked how long I had been disappearing." She finally turned to face him. "And now I am here," she said, "in a perfect house, in a perfect arrangement. And I am terrified that I am only valuable because I fit your plan." He met her gaze, steady and unflinching. "You are not valuable because you fit," he said. "You are valuable because you do not." She shook her head slightly. "You say that now." "I say it because it is true," he replied, "and because I would not trust someone who adapted too easily to my world." She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "I do not know how to trust anymore," she admitted. "Every promise I believed in became a weakness someone used against me." Silence filled the space between them again, but this time it was different, softer, less guarded. "I do not ask for your trust," he said. Not now. Not ever if you do not want to give it. She searched his face. Then what do you ask for? Honesty, he replied, and time. She exhaled slowly. I am afraid, she said, of needing something, of wanting more than this contract allows. He nodded once. So am I. That surprised her. I built my life around control, he continued, because control keeps disappointment predictable. Love does not. She studied him, seeing past the tailored suits and measured words. When this ends, she asked quietly, will you regret choosing me? He did not answer immediately. When this ends, he said, it will be because we choose to end it, not because one of us was not enough. The air between them felt charged now, not with desire, but with understanding. She straightened, stepping back slightly. This does not change anything, she said, almost defensively. I know, he replied. But as he turned to leave, she realized the truth was already shifting beneath her feet. They had crossed a line. Not the one written in the contract, the one neither of them had planned for, and once crossed, it could never be unseen. The breaking point did not come in private. It never did. It came under lights. The event was meant to be routine, a formal charity gala held in a downtown hotel ballroom, the kind filled with donors who smiled with their mouths and calculated with their eyes. Cameras lined the entrance, reporters clustered behind velvet ropes. Every appearance was accounted for, every movement rehearsed. She wore a black dress that evening, simple, elegant, chosen because it would not distract from him. As they stepped out of the car, flashes erupted. He placed his hand on her arm, steady, familiar now. She lifted her chin, matched his pace, and smiled when the questions came. How is married life treating you? Any plans for the future? He answered smoothly. She nodded at the right moments. It was flawless, until it was not. Inside the ballroom, as they moved between tables, a voice cut through the controlled noise. Well, this is unexpected. She froze. The voice was sharp, familiar, too familiar. Her ex-husband stood a few feet away, dressed in a suit that tried too hard, a glass of champagne already half empty in his hand. Beside him were two people she recognized from the industry, people who watched everything. I was wondering how you recovered so quickly, he continued, smiling thinly. Turns out you did not need much time at all. Her stomach dropped. She felt the room tilt, just slightly. He turned toward her husband, eyes gleaming. Do you know, he said, that your wife signed divorce papers barely 3 months ago? The air around them thickened. Conversations nearby slowed. Heads turned. Before she could speak, her ex-husband reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. And this, he said loudly, is even more interesting. Her breath caught. The contract. He waved it casually, like a prop. Temporary marriage, financial compensation, no emotional obligation, he read aloud. Is this what passes for romance now? Murmurs spread through the crowd. She felt heat rush to her face, shame burning hot and immediate. Not because the words were untrue, but because they were never meant to be public. She looked at him then, waiting, hoping. He did not speak, not yet. Her ex-husband smiled wider. Looks like you upgraded quickly, he said to her. I suppose this was easier than starting over on your own. Something inside her hardened. She stepped back, gently removing her arm from her husband's grip. This was a mistake, she said quietly, not to the crowd but to herself. She looked at him once more, searching his face for the man from the balcony, from the quiet moments, from the protection she had begun to trust. What she saw instead was calculation, delay, strategy. That was enough. She reached up and removed the ring from her finger. The small sound it made as it hit the marble table beside them felt impossibly loud. I will not do this, she said, her voice steady despite everything. Not like this. She placed the ring down. Thank you for the opportunity, she continued, forcing dignity into every word. But I am done being an arrangement. She turned and walked away before anyone could stop her. Behind her, voices rose. Questions, gasps, confusion. She did not look back. In the quiet of the hallway outside the ballroom, her steps slowed. The strength drained from her limbs all at once. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. The contract had promised safety. It had not promised courage. And tonight, she had chosen the one thing no agreement could protect: herself. She did not know how long she stood there, minutes, maybe longer. The hallway outside the ballroom was quiet compared to the storm she had just walked out of. Her reflection stared back at her from a mirrored wall, eyes bright, jaw tight, a woman holding herself together by sheer will. Then she heard his footsteps, not rushed, not panicked, intentional. She turned as he stopped a few feet away from her. The noise from the ballroom leaked through the doors behind him, muffled voices, confusion spreading where control had just been lost. "You should not have left like that," he said. She let out a short laugh, sharp with disbelief. "I should not have stayed as long as I did." He held her gaze. "You gave them exactly what they wanted, a spectacle." "They already had one," she replied. "I just refused to be part of it." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he reached into his jacket. Her body tensed instantly. "I am not here to ask you to come back," he said calmly. He pulled out the contract, the same document her ex-husband had waved like a weapon minutes earlier. Without breaking eye contact, he tore it in half. Once, then again. The sound was loud in the quiet hallway. Final. Irreversible. Her breath caught. "There is no agreement anymore," he said. "No arrangement. No protection." She stared at the pieces in his hands. "What are you doing?" "Choosing," he replied. He stepped closer, close enough now that she could see the tension beneath his control. "I waited in that room," he continued, "because every instinct I have told me to manage the situation, to calculate outcomes, to minimize damage." She said nothing. "And then I realized something," he said. "If I did that, I would lose you for the exact reason I asked you to stay in the first place." Her voice was quiet. "You already lost me." "Yes," he said, "and that is why I am here." He opened the ballroom doors and stepped back inside, holding them open for her. She did not move. "I am not asking you to protect me anymore," he said. "I am asking you to stand beside me, or not at all." Inside, the room fell silent as they entered together. Her ex-husband turned, surprise flashing across his face. "This ends now," he said clearly, his voice carrying. "That document you are holding is meaningless." He looked around the room, meeting eyes without flinching. "My marriage is not a transaction," he continued. "It is a choice, and I am making it publicly, without conditions." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. He turned to her. "I do not need you to stay," he said, "but I want you to know this. You were never my contract. You were my decision." The room seemed to hold its breath. She felt the weight of every gaze, every whisper, every expectation. And then she stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. She reached out and placed her hand in his. Not because she owed him, not because she was afraid, but because this time she was choosing too. The cameras flashed again, but they felt distant now, unimportant. Whatever happened next, it would not be scripted. And for the first time, that felt like freedom. The noise faded quickly after that night. Headlines came and went. Speculation burned hot, then cooled. The world moved on, as it always did. Inside the house, life changed in quieter ways. There were no more schedules handed to her, no assistants hovering outside doors, no rehearsed smiles. The contract that had once defined every interaction was gone, reduced to memory and torn paper. They moved carefully now, not apart, but not rushed. One evening, weeks later, she found him in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, standing at the counter with 2 plates. No staff, no audience. "You do not have to do that," she said. "I want to," he replied simply. They ate together in silence, comfortable, unguarded. It was not romantic in the way movies promised. It was better. It was real. Later, they walked through the house, past rooms that had once felt like boundaries. The doors were open now, not because they had to be, but because neither of them felt the need to close them. She stopped near the window where everything had begun. "I almost left that night," she said softly. "After the gala, I was ready to disappear again." He nodded. "I know. And you would have let me," she added. "Yes," he said, "because this only works if you stay by choice." She turned to face him fully. "My marriage taught me how to endure," she said, "but it never taught me how to choose myself." He listened without interrupting. "With you," she continued, "I am not pretending to be brave. I am just not afraid anymore." He reached into his pocket. There was no crowd, no cameras, no speeches prepared. He held out a ring, not the one from the contract. This one was simple, honest. "I am not asking you to save me," he said, "and I am not offering you protection. I am asking you to walk beside me, as my wife, not on paper, not for show." She felt tears rise, but they did not fall. "This time," she said quietly, "there are no rules?" "No rules," he agreed. "Only choice." She slipped the ring onto her finger herself. "Yes," she said. Their wedding was small, no press, no spectacle. A handful of people, soft light, laughter that came easily. As she stood there, looking at him, she thought about the woman she had been the night she drank to forget her broken marriage. Lost, exhausted, certain that love was something she had already failed at. She had been wrong. Love had not failed her. She had simply not been choosing it for herself. Later, as they stood together, she rested her head against his shoulder and smiled. She had not woken up in a millionaire's bed with a new beginning. She had walked into it, by choice. And this time, she was not starting over. She was starting forward.